Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shifty Sports Network. Um, I have a little bit of a problem, guys. I can't find my phone. It's turned on silent. It could be dead by now, and I haven't seen it in a while. But I don't even really need a phone, I guess. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and I know there's at least one guy who's watching this. um, but let's see. For today, we have one game, which will be one in which I would recommend people put their money. So, this is the only way I have to get out to you guys. For today, we have 4 games in the NCAA. The first one is going to be Duke at Louisville at 7 o'clock. And we see a spread of 34.5 and an over-under of 69. Now, I know the spread and the over-under both opened up a lot higher than they originally show on my screen. Um, but of course, there's going to be some of these that people won't really understand in one way and do understand in another. Um, but for today, let's see if I can't get us some good warm bets. I don't see quote unquote hot bets outside of the props, and I'm going to kind of sort of quit doing these hot bets because um, I don't need to be going on and someone accidentally put like everything they have on a hot bet that I placed, and it just makes me feel bad because they trusted me so much. So let's go warm bets. The one I like the most today is Duke over 17.5 at Louisville. And the reason I say that is because Louisville is turnover prone. We know how Lamar Jackson plays in his games. He doesn't go without a turnover. Obviously, not being a senior on the team or even a junior, getting ready for the draft, whatnot. Heisman Trophy candidate that does a lot of fumbling and a lot of interceptions. um, but I think the main reason why Duke will do more than 17.5 is because the defense isn't as great as people would originally expect them to be. Now, obviously, we expect that 51.5 to go way over, but the biggest thing for me is that we know teams like Syracuse can get 28 on them. We know teams like Florida State can do 20, and then they just pretty much just laid down in the second half. Um, and teams like Marshall had a couple turnovers help them score some points. They ended up getting 28, I believe. Um, and then the last weekend we had Clemson. Clemson ended up scoring 40 something points, but Louisville themselves ended up scoring about 30, so or 37, I think. But anyway, Duke should have no problem with the type of offensive presence they have. I'm not saying their offense is great, but against Louisville, they should have no problem. And that's what I'm going to say Duke over 17.5. And it's at minus 115 on Bet Online right now. And it's about 2:23 Eastern time, so it's about 11, I think, 11 Pacific time for you Vegas bettors. Um, and then the next one that I see is San Diego State. And if anybody knows anything about them, which most people don't, they have arguably the best, quote unquote, best speed running back in the game. I mean, the kid is just flat out explosive. I think they said he ran a 4.28. I'm not exactly sure on that. Um, anyway, at Fresno State, it shows their San Diego State at minus 17. And then it shows over under 51.5. But for team points, like I said with Duke over 17.5, San Diego State is an over 34. Now, I like that over 34 a lot. And the reason I say that is because it's not that Fresno State isn't good, it's the type of defense they have can't match up to that of the the type of offense that San Diego State runs, especially when you have a lot of these zone reads. Fresno State isn't going to be able to match that. They're going to get real tired in the second half, and they won't be able to focalize a lot of that energy on the running back. Expect the defense to put up a lot early game, but then once the third quarter comes around, they're able to go up about 2 or 3 scores. Um, you'll notice that they'll stick with a running game, something that's helped them the whole year. Um, Up until San Diego State has to play Boise, and Boise State have to compare records. That's about the only time that anything's going to matter to them, which they should have a pretty big problem with Boise State anyway. But those are the two for me. Is Duke over 17.5 and San Diego State over 34. Now I'm going to go ahead and do Saturday because a lot of you are going to be curious. Now, as of this moment, they don't have the team points category at the moment, so let's see what I can find here. I see one right off the back, which is NC State and Clemson over under 62.5. And if the weather holds up and the weather's really good, it's not raining and windy like it was last weekend. If it's really good weather, then this game will easily go over 62.5 because the way Clemson sets up its defense, NC State really doesn't have too much of a problem. They have a problem with different sets like the 3-4 stack. They have a big problem with 46 bear on the goal line because even at that point, their passing game isn't that great in the red zone. So I feel like Clemson has the better edge here with that minus 17.5. But I do expect NC State to score 3 or 4 touchdowns in that game. Here's another one. West Virginia at Texas Tech over 84. That's right, I said it, over 84. A lot of people wouldn't take something that high, but after what I've seen with Texas Tech for the last few weeks, and I kept them on one of the TVs for 3 of the weeks, and I've tried to study their team, and I recorded some of their games and went back and reviewed the film. What I noticed was one of the weirdest things about, man, I can't even remember the guy's name. I had it, had it on my tongue, but anyway, I was watching him, and the one thing I noticed is that he is like Jacob Eason was in high school. Like, he has no fear. He just step up, and he doesn't even worry about who's around him. He basically scans the field, bam, just gets rid of it. I don't know how the kid does it. I don't know why he's so good at that, but that's what I seen from watching that game. And here's another one. Here's another really good pick. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the first half, and I'm gonna tell you guys one of them. The first one is gonna be Vanderbilt at Georgia. Georgia for the minus 7.5 for the first half. That should be a pretty solid bet right there. Another one, another really good one. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to the game because I like this one in the whole game better. Georgia Southern at Georgia Tech. I'd take Georgia Southern plus 10.5. And the reason I say that is because I understand that these are literally both the exact same offense, with only one exception, is that one uses more of a veer set and one uses more of a zone read set. And it's very troubling for a lot of these teams, but since Georgia Tech doesn't have the type of defense Georgia Southern has, I really don't think Georgia Tech can win this game by more than 10.5 points. I really don't see it happening. Of course, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I mean, statistics have shown that Georgia Tech should not be able to win that game by 10 points. It's just some of the games that they had, the defense they played just couldn't stack up against the veer, because the veer is generally meant for offensive lines that aren't that great, but against teams with a lot of speed in their secondary and in their linebacking core, it's very hard for a veer option to work against something like that. Um, Here's another one that I really like. North Carolina at Miami. I see that -7 for Miami, and I know people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, but I absolutely love that -7. And the reason I say that is because North Carolina has a couple injuries that are going to kill them in this game on defense, and Miami's just going to take over. And I know what Mark Rich is capable of doing with a offense that is dominant against a decimated defense. Not decimated as completely destroyed, decimate as basically the prefix deci, which is reduced by 1/10 or 10%, because that's about what it is. It's just about 10% of what they lost, but it's a huge 10%. Um, and then another one that I absolutely love this one, and I think a lot of people will as well. Alabama, Tennessee, the spread is 12.5. Now, a lot of people are going to say if any team can beat them, it's Tennessee. I disagree completely. Alabama minus 12.5. I'm going to pick the Tide to roll the heck over the Vols. Absolutely destroy them. And I know people probably don't like that. I know Tennessee has fallen behind a lot and come back. But of course, Alabama's not going to give up anything in the second half to a team like Tennessee. Tennessee's going to fall behind about 4 or 5 touchdowns, and then they'll be down about 6 or 7 at the end of it. I don't think Tennessee will score a single point. Maybe 1 touchdown or 2 if they're lucky. So I like that Alabama spread. Um, Another one I really like is Wake Forest at Florida State under 53 for the game. And the reason I say that is because Wake Forest ain't going to score. They will not. Their entire team is built on a defensive presence. And of course, Florida State, we know, is possible to stop. But some of the key matchups that I find, some of the receiver DB matchups are going to be very key into the success of Wake Forest being able to hold that under 53. But I expect Florida State to possibly score 4 touchdowns, 5 at the most. Wake Forest probably won't score a single point. But I don't see this game going over 53 points whatsoever. That should be the safest bet in that game, is the under 53. Um, let's see, there's another one I really like. This one is Connecticut at South Florida, and it shows plus 19.5 for Connecticut. I really like this one, and I seriously do. Connecticut is more of a run offense. They're going to take time off the clock, and it's basically just going to pulverize South Florida's defense, and it's going to allow UConn to get a couple of these huge plays off. They had a couple huge plays that in that game against Houston, and Houston's got one of the best defenses I've ever seen. They couldn't barely move the ball. They had to go deep and get all this and everything. I really think that UConn can score a couple points here. I believe that about 2 or 3 touchdowns is what they'll score. South Florida won't be able to get off that many. This will. I'm not going to say it's going to go over under 52.5, but UConn should easily be able to keep this within 19.5 points. Will they win? Absolutely not. But I believe that they should be able to keep that under 19.5. So UConn plus 19.5. Here's another one. Tulsa at Houston. I really like this Houston minus 21 a lot. And I believe Houston should be able to pull this one off very easily based on their defense alone being able to stop Tulsa. I don't think Tulsa's going to be able to score that much. That's why I'm not going to mess with the over under 73.5, because I don't even know if Tulsa can pull their part of the bargain. I know they're a good offense, but I seriously don't think Houston's going to allow them to score a lot. Same thing with this game right next to it, Florida Atlantic Marshall. I highly doubt that Florida Atlantic is going to be able to score on Marshall. Therefore, 61.5 doesn't really seem favorable. I like Marshall minus 11 in that game. Um, oh, here's a really good one. Um, Ole Miss at Arkansas. Let's see. I'm going to check to see what the first half spread is because generally that's one of my favorite things to do with Ole Miss is to pick them in the first half because they have yet to let me down. -4, I would take Ole Miss at Arkansas -4 for the first half. That has absolutely done me so well this entire season. Um, there we go, and I absolutely love it. Let's see, go back down. Okay. So yeah, -4 for the first half. Ole Miss, yes. Now, could they blow the lead absolutely to Arkansas? They could absolutely blow the lead. Now, will they is a completely different question. That's why I couldn't take the gain line on either one of those teams. But I believe Ole Miss is going to come out and dominate that first half, and then whatever happens from there is up to whatever the heck is happening to them because they're not a second half team whatsoever. Um, and I have two of these late games that I like. One I kind of like, and one I really like. The one I kind of sort of like is Stanford at Notre Dame. Um, the one that no one's gonna believe is the over 56 for the Stanford Notre Dame. I understand how well Stanford's defense plays. However, the type of packages that the offense is going to show, I really don't think that they're going to show too much of a chance in this game. And we know Christian McCaffrey is just basically going to be able to ground the ball against Notre Dame. They really don't have that great of a defense. We've seen that against Texas, and we've seen that against NC State. We even though it was like pouring rain, but we can pretty much tell that the defense really doesn't have enough to show for itself, especially since Manti Te'o left. Their defense has absolutely struggled. They do have a good offense, but everything that we've seen to this point is pretty much pointless. And that's why they're doing so poorly is because of their defense, their turnover margins. But I believe that they will be able to get in the end zone about 4 or 5 times in the game. And then Stanford's going to be scoring their 40, 50 points. I could see Stanford +3 very easily, but I would prefer the over because you can never tell based on turnovers with Notre Dame. We know that they're gonna either give a lot of turnovers or put up a lot of points. That's all I can tell you is generally that's how their drives work. They usually never go 3 and out to teams, even the ones with great defenses, because they run such an unorthodox offense that I really like the over in this case. Another one that I do like is the Ohio State Wisconsin game. Now, a lot of people are looking at this, and I don't know what the heck is going on here because when I'm looking at Ohio State Wisconsin, they have Ohio State -10.5, but this is what drives me crazy is the over under is only 44. Like, does people really expect, even if Wisconsin's at home, do they really expect Ohio State won't score that many points? Ohio State is going to airbomb it against Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't have a shot to win this game. Basically, I like that over 44. I believe Ohio State themselves are going to score the 44 points and then whatever the heck Wisconsin throws up. um, Obviously, I don't think Ohio State's going to give that many points up to Wisconsin. But the problem is they don't have a consistent running back in Wisconsin like Monte Ball to keep the ball moving and to keep the chains moving and keep the clock running. They really don't have that presence that they used to have. And that's why games could used to go under for them all the time. But they haven't really played anybody to this point. That's what kills me with Wisconsin, is that they play nobody except for Ohio State. Um, So I'm basically liking that over in this situation, even though the over is 105 and the under is 115. I really like the over. And then for craps and giggles, the UNLV at Hawaii. The one I really like here is I like the over 54 and a half. This is the late game, and this is one that I've seen. Now, I did live out in Vegas for a little bit, or quote unquote vacation, every weekend. Um, but I really like that over 54 and a half. And the reason I say that is because we've seen the new coach that they have, and that was the coach at Gorman Bishop High School, which was probably the most winning Nevada high school in football history. Um, but the coach came from Bishop Gorman. He's really good. He's got a nice offensive package that he brought with him and his offensive coordinator. And I really believe that they'll be able to put up a lot of points against Hawaii. Remember, Hawaii's not great on defense. They've given up so many points to so many teams, especially a team like Cal. They gave up 51, but they also scored 31. Um, I'm thinking that UNLV, regardless who they play, are going to be able to put up points unless specific packages are around. But the way Hawaii's defense is set, UNLV should have no problem putting up their portion of the points to put this over 54 and a half. Now, I usually should not be doing this on for the Sunday because I'm not one to absolutely like the NFL, and I will never give you a hot bet for the NFL. But the one I like the best is probably the 1 p.m. game, New England minus 8.5. I love that one better than any other 1 o'clock game. And out of the 4 o'clock games, my the one that I think is going to uh, get a lot of people is this Oakland or Kansas City at Oakland. I believe Oakland should be able to beat that 1.5 point spread fairly easily. They've shown that they can play against the specific competition, although I would say that the particular defensive packages that Kansas City offers, they do a lot of weak side stack, and most of that is because a lot of the running backs that they have in the league are doing reads to the weak side, and for what reason I absolutely don't know, but it seems like that defense is a lot easier in which to run. But Oakland should have no problem against that. Generally, Oakland's problem is against the 3-4, um, with pretty much like an avalanche in the on the defensive line where they just target the center because a lot of their run game goes right up the middle. Um, and that's a huge problem for a lot of teams that try to stack it and try to slant blitz into a specific side of the field, because at that point you're basically just trying to commit to one side, and a lot of the players can basically read that. And I really like Oakland's chances of winning this game. The late game, of course I'm gonna like Indianapolis. Um, I just do not think that Houston's going to have a chance. I would actually take Indianapolis straight up in this game, plus 126. I wouldn't even mess with the spread. The spread plus 3 is minus 120, but I'd rather just take the straight up bet. I really would. I do not seeing the Houston defense being able to stop a lot of this passing game. Their secondary is probably one of the worst I've seen in the league in the last so long. They're nothing. It's pretty much comparable to that of Arizona. Arizona's supposed to have a really good defense, but some of the younger players haven't yet developed the way they should have in the NFL at this point. So I'm gonna like Indianapolis there, and the Monday game, I like. Oh yes, I absolutely love this. New York at Arizona. I'm gonna like that over 46 points, and the reason I'm gonna like that is because I don't see either defense being able to do anything. We know that that rookie out of North Dakota State. We know he's going to be able to lay it on. Um, and I obviously know Larry Fitzgerald's going to be able to catch about 2 touchdown passes in this game, probably one in each half, um, versus New York. I'm looking for probably about 4 touchdown passes for the Jets, 3 for the Cardinals. That right there is 35, and 2 rushing touchdowns equal about 49 points. Um, and then a couple field goals to put it about 55, 58 points. That's about what I'm looking, is about 58 points total. Um, but overall, I like that. I like that over better than anything. Um, and then also, just because I know it's coming up, and I know it's only the preseason, and we shouldn't be doing a lot with the preseason. We do have some games tonight. I won't be able to get through all of them throughout the weekend because a lot of people would rather be putting their money on like pro games and stuff. And I do watch NBA. I do keep up with basketball as well as football. That's actually the 2 sports on which I bet the most is football and basketball because they're much easier on which to bet than any other sport. Um, the 2 games I like Cleveland plus 5.5 to at Chicago, and that's at 8:05 tonight. And at 9:05, I like Golden State minus 7.5 at Denver. Um, and I'll just leave you guys with that. Um, and also, don't forget, we also have the WNBA Western Conference Finals. I think's what it is tonight. Minnesota at LA, which is basically the Lynx at the Sparks. I've watched a lot of this, and I really like what Candace Parker's doing with Los Angeles. Of course, we know Minnesota's got a lot of key weapons, but at home, Los Angeles just seems to get it done on all levels, especially with Nneka Omike. Um, Ogumake, I can't pronounce her name whatsoever, but I really like Los Angeles minus 1.5 at home. They've proven that they can easily get this done on all cylinders. That's a game to watch if you're not into college football. You're just into like professional sports. I wouldn't even watch the NBA preseason. I just get the WNBA because Los Angeles minus 1.5 should be your best bet. But as far as the series go, I think that Minnesota should easily be able to take the entire series. Now, if you're into hockey, I do know a little bit about hockey, and Chicago plays tonight, so I would probably go with Chicago's team goals over 2.5 at Nashville. I understand that probably one of the better defensive men in the league is going up against an offense with Patrick Kane, Sharp, has got some of the best weapons. You got Jonathan Tay. You pretty much got an entire offense that is just completely deadly. Um, Going up against a less than par defense and a goalie that's given up, I want to say it was last year, 2.7 points per game, I believe. I'm not exactly sure on that statistic. But I like the over 2.5, just the team goals with Chicago tonight. If you're a hockey fan, I really do like that a lot. And lastly, but not least, I'm not huge whatsoever on soccer, and I never will be. But there is oh, sorry guys. Whew. Ugh. But sorry. Oh, there is one tomorrow. That's gonna be Norwich City versus Rotherham. I absolutely like Rotherham in here, and their spread's pretty much going to be 1 or 1.5, and it's at plus 102. And I really like Rotherham in this game. Um, I've been watching a lot of the some of the soccer late at night because they have a bunch of replays. And I'm watching a lot of it because I'm trying to figure out some of these players that are going to be in the they're going to be in this World Cup that there's going to be. And we see all these different teams like USA, who's definitely not going to win it all this year. We see some good players, like Argentinian players playing all the way in Europe. And you've got to keep up with some of these players, otherwise, you won't be able to bet in some of these country versus country matchups. Um, Otherwise, you can basically look at these different players. You can tell which ones are going to do well, which ones aren't going to do well, based on the looks that they're given, based on the players against which they go. And there's um there's a couple of them at play that are going to be playing. There's going to be one playing for England, I guarantee, or the UK, and there's another one I believe that's going to be playing with Italy. Um, when it comes time to get this whole shebang over, and I think this Soccer World Cup's coming up pretty fast. Of course, I'm not going to put anything up in numbers, but I'm really looking forward to watching a lot of this. But of course, it's not going to keep me away from anything whatsoever when it comes to football on Saturdays and Sundays, or even basketball during the week when it comes in time for the NBA. And one thing to watch out, or for which to watch out, guys, is some of these NCAA games during the week when it comes to basketball. There's a lot of these teams against which are very tough to bet. Um, but I probably wouldn't worry too much if you know a lot about them, because there's some of these teams like Southeast Missouri State runs a lot of their games during the week. They prefer not to run a lot on the Saturdays. I don't know why. So I'm paying much attention to these teams that don't run a lot on Saturday, but rather would play during the week, because they're the ones on which you're going to get more bets. Um, and just for the heck of it, the money line, I like the money line Chicago Cubs tonight if you're a baseball fan. But like I said, I wouldn't bet on that unless you were dead set on something with baseball. I just like the Cubs. I like what they've been doing in baseball. I really like the new guy they got, that second baseman. I really like him a lot. Jake Arrieta, I don't think he's starting. I think Lester's starting tonight, the left-hander. But Arrieta, whenever he's pitching, I really like their chances of winning the game, especially with that one knuckle pitch he throws. I absolutely love it. It's probably not a knuckle pitch. He probably accidentally looks like a knuckle curve for some reason. I don't think he means to throw that, because whenever I looked, I couldn't find a pitch like a knuckle curve in his arsenal. However, I really like when that accident happens, because it's really hard against which to hit that pitch in particular, especially with the velocity he gives. And then to back it up, you have that curveball just going straight into the dirt, and it really does intercede with those problems that different players are having against hitting against him. But overall, I like Chicago Cubs, and I like their chances tonight. Or not tonight, but tomorrow night. Sorry, guys. Because I know there's a lot of you who don't like college. You just like pro sports, and I understand pros are best of the best, and I do understand. I don't like the chances of betting on pro sports compared to college, because I like colleges better, and in pro sports any team can win in any given night, and that's the way I feel about it. Um, but like I said, guys, your best bets tonight are going to be Duke over 17 and a half for the game, just for their points. Um, and San Diego State over 34 for their team points. So, guys, that's all I've got for today. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you can keep an update in case there's a hot bet, but there won't be any hot bets this weekend. Most of the teams in which I like to place hot bets aren't playing. Like if Jake Browning was playing with Washington, I would probably have one. The only problem I see with Lamar Jackson is they're playing Duke, which is a very questionable team, and he's a very questionable quarterback as well. And in some situations, I would love props, but I can't really find too many props I like in this game. Um, of course, there will be a lot of things be said against a lot of this stuff. But when I look in like the props for like the football player props tonight, they do have some Lamar Jackson props. They have total touchdown passes under over 3.5, pass completions 20.5, passing yards 304.5, and rushing yards 124.5. Um, the Probably the one I like the best, if I were to do anything, would be over 20.5 completions. Um, my biggest thing is I was looking for total touchdowns instead of passing touchdowns, because I know he's huge on running the ball when there's nothing, and I know he can score with his legs very easily. He has just about as many touchdown passes as he does touchdown runs, so I'm not really big on anything with him tonight. Um, so I probably wouldn't even touch those if I were you guys, but make sure that you subscribe so you can stay in touch of whenever I have a hot bet. Um, and as always, I hope you guys have good luck betting, and I'll see you guys next time on the Shifty Sports Network. And good luck.